start here in just a second. All right, well, welcome to the City Council meeting. Today is April 18th. We are recording tonight's meeting with the City of Madison YouTube channel, as well as for later archiving. Like with every meeting, before we get into the heart of the agenda, we'll stand, remove our hats, recite the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, Council. Schaefer.
Here.
Bartlett.
Here.
Dan DiTillo.
Here.
Chatham.
Here.
Lucy DiTillo. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Krebs.
Here.
All right. We have a full agenda tonight. And Council, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting, April the 4th? So we'll entertain a motion to approve such minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as submitted.
I second.
We have motion second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'd like to invite Chief Wallace to the podium to introduce our three new Madison Police Department officers and for their swearing in.
Good evening, Council. It is my honor to be here to have our three newest officers of the Madison Police Department to be sworn in and take the oath of office. So at this point in time, I'd like to call Officer Blakemore, Fox, and Short to the podium, please. And we will start off with Jordan Blakemore. So Jordan, if you'd like to stand up. Would you like to have anybody join you up here, Jordan? Or Ron and Cody? Come on up here. Is that not on? Yeah, it is. Introduce yourself to the council and to the city and tell them a little bit something about yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jordan Blakemore, Madison local, 31 years. You know, I've been around the community. A lot of people do know me from sports, school, and things like that. I worked at the Madison Correctional Facility for a while, and then that gave me the leeway and the knowledge and ability to start my career here, because when they told me, when I went up to the training there, they said, these are the things you can be. And this is really the first time that I felt that I could go and be something else. So I think that for giving me the opportunity to get the mindset to come out here, because my first goal would be, for of course, get through the academy and things like that, and then go be canine unit. So that's my first goal for City of Madison, and hopefully I can continue on and advance and things like that and make people proud of me.
So I got to brag on Jordan just a little bit. He came to us on several different occasions, trying out for the department, and I know the feeling on this situation. There was a few pounds that needed to be shed to get to meet his goal, and that man went out and lost 40, 50 pounds, whatever it was, and came back in sterling shape and passed everything with flying colors. So that tells me all I need to know right there. This young man wants to be a Madison police officer, so I'm very proud of him. Colton Fox, would you mind stepping up and we'll take your oath? Come on up, folks.
I, Colton Fox. I, Colton Fox. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Indiana. And the Constitution of the State of Indiana. And I will faithfully. And I will faithfully. And impartially. And impartially. Discharge the duties. Discharge the duties. Of a police officer for the city of Madison. Of a police officer for the city of Madison. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. And according to the law, so help me God. And according to the law, so help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Would you like to step up to the mic and tell the council and the city of Madison all about yourself?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Colton Fox. I'm originally from Trimble County, just across the river, but practically grew up here all my life as well. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps, served for 4 years under a presidential unit known as HMX-1. With that, I was also a military police officer, which was my main job. I'm hopeful to use my experience from that and give back to the city of Madison as much as I can.
Now I'd like to introduce Cody Short. Do we have somebody to? Come on, brother. Little known secret, his brother is also on our department, Cameron Blankenship, so he hasn't been easy on him either.
I, Cody Short. I, Cody Short. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Indiana. And the Constitution of the State of Indiana. And that I will faithfully. And faithfully. And impartially. And impartially. Discharge the duties. Discharge the duties. Of a police officer for the city of Madison. Of a police officer for the city of Madison. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. According to the law, so help me God. According to the law, so help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's that?
Chief, I'd like to get a picture with you and all of them over here.
Sure. Yeah, for the council, yeah. Let me, is it okay if Cody, maybe you want to just kind of introduce yourself and to the council, to the city?
So I'm Cody Short. I'm 21 years old. I'm originally from Jeff, and I started in the Kentucky Air National Guard with my brother, obviously, and then he's pretty much been my, like mentor, and I've followed him. So I'm here in Madison also with him, and hope to use all that experience that we've all had in the law enforcement academy and the Air Force, and then come out here and show it and be safe and show you all that we care for you all.
Yes. Colton, please. So his brother is Officer Blankenship in the back, and he's actually in charge of our training. So when these guys showed up on their very first day, unbeknownst to me, he already had these guys decked out in their academy outfit and had them at the high school track about, was it 7:30? Yes. So they've been doing a lot of physical training as well. So he wants to make sure that they're ready to go to the academy. But I can say that our shower at the MPD has never been used so much as it has here in the last month. So yeah, I think they're doing a little sweat.
Congratulations, you guys. Yes, sir. Good luck. Thank
So Monday morning, they'll go take their physical, fitness test at the academy. They all better pass it. And, May 1st, they'll start their first day at the Law Enforcement Academy. So, thank you, council.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Okay. Moving on, Rob, we have, two ordinances on first reading.
Okay, ordinance number, 2023, -8, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, amending the zoning map of the City of Madison, Indiana. Whereas there has been a recommendation made by the City of Madison Planning Commission to the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, to amend the zoning map of the City of Madison, Indiana. Whereas the Madison Planning Commission has voted to recommend to the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that the zoning of the following described property be changed from light manufacturing M1 to general business GB. Address of that property being 3910 Michigan Road, parcel number 39081400-007.002-006. Whereas it is in the best interest of the City of Madison, Indiana, that and its citizens that the zoning map be amended accordingly. And whereas the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana concurs with the recommendations submitted to it by the Planning Commission. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that Section 1, the City of Madison zoning map be amended so that the zoning for the following described property be changed from light manufacturing M1 to general business GB. Same address and same parcel number. Section 2, that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after this day. Foregoing ordinance was adopted by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana's regular meeting held on blank day blank 2023. Presented by blank councilman and signed by Mayor Porter and testified. Clerk treasurer.
Sponsor of that is Stefano. Oh, sorry.
I hope you could hear me. Okay. And then we have, next ordinance is ordinance number 2023-9, sponsored by Lucy Titillo, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, repealing and replacing City of Madison Code, Chapter 98, Streets and Sidewalks, specifically Sections 9801, 9802, 9803, 9804, 9805, 9806, 9820, 9821, 9822, 9823, 9824. Whereas there has been a request made upon the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana to, says to repealing, with respect to repealing and replacing a portion of the City of Madison Code, Chapter 98, Streets and Sidewalks. Whereas the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana recommends that certain portions of Chapter 98, Streets and Sidewalks, specifically Sections 9801, 9802, 9803, 9804, 9805, 9806, 9820, 9821, 9822, 9823, 9824 be repealed and replaced as follows. See attached Exhibit A. I trust I don't have to read that. Whereas it is in the best interest of the City of Madison, Indiana and its citizens that the sections of the ordinance regarding streets and sidewalks be repealed and replaced accordingly. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that Chapter 98, Streets and Sidewalks, specifically Sections 9801, 9802, 9803, 9804, 9805, 9806, 9820, 9821, 9822, 9823, 9824 be repealed and replaced to reflect attached Exhibit A. Foregoing ordinance was passed and adopted by Common Council of City of Madison, Indiana, its regular meeting on the blank day blank 2023.
Deputy Mayor McGee to give us an overview of what this initiative is with regards to our streets and sidewalks.
Yes, Council, I know we're just on first reading of this, but just wanted to give you a little bit of background on why we are approaching this, so you'll have some information when you go to discussion at the next meeting. And I know you got this with your packet. I did get some comments from Councilman Schaefer. Some of those are grammatical, easy to change. The rest we can discuss on second reading. But just to give you a little bit of background on why we are taking a look at this, as you drive around town, there are road cuts everywhere, and a lot of them. So those happen from our own work, our own utility work, water and sewer. There are utility companies that work in our streets, gas company, Metronet, different providers. There's private work that's done when someone buys a house or a building and they want to increase their water line or replace a sewer line. That work gets done in our streets. So we were very frustrated. It's mainly because of the way those cuts are backfilled. We understand there have to be cuts in the street because our infrastructure is old and needs to be replaced sometimes. Sometimes there's a leak or a clog or whatever. So we just really wanted to take a look at why those backfills are failing. So I just wanted to go through a little bit of information on that. I think after a lot of research and discussion with a lot of different people, our contractors, our engineers, our internal staff, where we've landed is the problem really is the way they're being backfilled. So if you'll remember on our CCMG project that we did on Main Street, before we could even do any of the rejuvenation work, we repaired 180 of these cuts from Jefferson Street to the top of the hill that had been done but had failed. So that cost a lot of money out of our CCMG project, but it had to be done because nothing we did after that would be a smooth road. We're still not there, but it's a lot better than it would have been. So when people are working in our roadway and cutting in our streets and sidewalks, they're currently not notifying the city in any way. If the city's ordering the work, that's one thing, but private work or contractors, we don't know that they're doing the work. You'll remember the gas company did a lot of cuts on West Main Street. We were not aware they were doing the work. So we can't provide inspection on it if we're not aware that it's happening or who's doing the work. So even on our internal work from the sewer and water department, they're inspecting their line connection, but they were not inspecting up to the road surface. So a lot of those cuts failed. So wanted to give you just some examples in the various ways that this happens. The picture on your left is down on Vaughn Drive. It's in front of the cotton mill. That was off-site work that we agreed to do as part of the, I think that was a sewer line that we did for the new hotel. That's not more than a couple years old, and it's already failing. It's very, if you drive with your right tire in that lane, it's very wavy. So it is failing. The picture on the right is West Street, and if you drive West Street very often, you know what that road is like. That was actually private work that was, I believe, down on the Elks building, hired privately. That contractor did not backfill to our specifications, and that road is really bad. This road is in our CCMG to repave this year, so that will get all redone, but not so good right now. The one on the left is West 2nd Street at Broadway. That's as you're coming up to the stop sign at Broadway going west. That one has sunk probably 1.5 inches to almost 2 inches. Most cars drive around it completely. East 3rd Street near Jefferson, that one was just put back. They put gravel in, and then they piled up asphalt on top of it, and I think we're hoping that traffic as it drives over it would smooth it out, but it's basically a speed bump now. This one's on 5th Street near West Street, down where a house is getting renovated, and I think that was a water line that got put in January. They put gravel back in, and it basically is still in that state. I think that has been a standard practice too, is just to fill it up with gravel and let the traffic pack it down. And whether they do or do not ever come back and put asphalt on it, sometimes we have to ask for it, but all of this is a lot of different situations, but we need to get control of our streets back. We spend a lot of money, as you know, on our streets, and it breaks my heart every time I see somebody cutting into it. The fact is, if they're put back correctly, if they follow the correct backfill procedures, it's perfectly fine. I should have taken a picture of an example on 2nd Street, just past Broadway on the other side. There's 2 large cuts there that were put back correctly, and they are even, and they've been sealed around, and the traffic flows exactly as it should. On Michigan Road, the work that's being done as part of the water project, they did a backfill correctly, and that whole project, we've worked with them very closely to make sure that they are following our backfill procedures. They are, and I think those are working the way they should.
Yeah, they are, and right now they're in a temporary state because they've just been temporarily filled up to the surface until now that the asphalt plants are opening, they'll come back, they'll mill out the temporary fill, and then follow our design specs for that particular project with new asphalt.
So as we started doing our research, we thought we were going to have to start from scratch and go get somebody else's specs and start putting it in, and we found out that we actually have construction standards. They just weren't being followed, and they weren't being held to that or inspected. So they're already in our standards. We already have notification, bond requirements, permit requirements, and fees in that ordinance. However, as we were looking through it, all the references to that code are referencing an ordinance in 1966. There have been various updates, minor updates, as things have changed over the years, but the most recent one was 1997. So it's an old ordinance that hasn't been kept up with. Here are some of the different, we actually have specs in place for every kind of cut that would happen. So we have obviously the asphalt pavement, the road surface. If you're cutting into a gravel area, if you're working in a curb and gutter area, concrete sidewalk, if you cut into the grass, there was recently, a few weeks ago, work done in a grassy right-of-way where when they put that back, they filled it with dirt and walked away. That's actually not to spec. They do need to seed and straw and do all the things. They still need to compact. So there's specs for concrete pavement if we had a concrete road, and then there is a driveway spec. So when people are replacing their driveway, there are things they need to consider, and the contractors need to consider if they're cutting across our sidewalk or if they are replacing their approach into their driveway. Their driveway, they can do however they want, but when it comes to the sidewalk, the curb gutter, and the approach, we have specs for that. I know in the Oak Hill project, we found driveways where when people sealed their driveways, they sealed all the way down to the road, right over the sidewalk, right over the approach, the curb, and the gutter. So the action that we really need to take is we need to take a look at the bond requirements and the permit fees and update those. They're very small because those were probably in there from 60s, 70s. It wasn't a lot of money. The bond, the intent of the bond obviously is if it fails or if they don't do it and we have to do it, it needs to cover the cost of that. So we need to take a look at those bond and permit requirements. And then the permit application needs to be updated, and Nicole Shell has already worked on that, and I believe that one is ready to go. We can show you that. The permit itself we need to update. I'm not even sure there was an actual permit that someone received, but we want to make sure that permit is received by that contractor and it's posted on the job site. So everybody can see they've done what they need to do, and we are notified and we're aware that they're doing the work. So the next thing is that we need to notify all registered contractors with the city, all the utility companies, and we have that letter in process right now preparing to go out. And then honestly, all of our city employees, you as council members, Chief Wallace has agreed to have our officers work with us too. And when you see somebody working and you don't see a permit, ask them if they have a permit. If not, they really need to stop working and come down to City Hall and go through this process so that we know what's happening and that we can assign an inspector to it. I know that Nicole is going to give you an overview of OpenGov, and that's how we intend to assign inspectors. So that permit will be specific to what kind of work it is. If it's water, we have a water employee that's going to inspect. Sewer, we have a sewer employee. We have street employees that can do inspection on street cuts for everything else. So it will be inspected from the bottom to the top, not just the line connection, but everything that goes in until we get back to road surface. The other thing that we would like to add to this is that contractors will need to warranty that backfill job for up to a year. So if it fails, they need to come back and fix it. So Common Council, what we would need from you is to repeal and replace Chapter 98, and then we'll go back to BPW and adopt updated construction standards. So all of those details can go in the construction standards that they would approve, and then you all would update our Chapter 98 on roads and sidewalks. And I think that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll just add that when we, really started looking at how all of these road cuts were happening and by whom, and the damage that was being created because of lack of following a process really that was designed back in the 60s that hadn't been modernized in so many years or implemented. The actual ordinance required the clerk treasurer's office to be the implementer of this particular process that obviously hadn't been happening for a very, very long time. It was a lot more complicated of an initiative than we thought it would be because there is policy, there's communication, there's permitting, there's bonding, there's specifications, and then there's also going to need to be an inventory process for going back and repairing those road cuts that are already failing. And what we're trying to do is put a stop to the future the future damage that will occur because road work is so expensive. And it's not just roads, but it's sidewalks and it's anything that really that impacts a city right away. So I think we're on the right track to bring some attention to this matter and solidify the process and the design specs that are necessary in order to make sure that we're doing the backfill of the excavation correctly.
I think there's also a lack of knowledge on a resident's part. I mean, I'm not saying it's their fault. It's, on West Main, when I was doing a walkthrough for our Phase 1 of Main Street with our engineers, there are several places where people have taken the initiative to fix their driveways, and that's great. But in some cases, they've eliminated our sidewalk completely, or they've put that back not to ADA standards, which we are then responsible for. So we need to make sure everything goes back to ADA standard, but also in some cases, they've completely eliminated the curb and the gutter. So that affects drainage for everybody, and so there's a lot of stuff tangled up in this.
Really is.
Mindy, are these construction standards posted online for everybody, or do they have to come down and get them physically?
Well,
Are we
so
allowed
when
to have this discussion on first reading?
I'm not discussing the ordinance, just the.
We're laying out for you why we're doing this, and then in the next presentation that Nicole's going to have with regard to OpenGov, you'll see everything kind of rolled in to this process and more.
To answer your question quickly, we intend to make sure that everybody we make contact with has all of the information they need. Yeah, and then the driveway permit, which is a little bit separate, they would have access to that as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Mitty. Okay, moving on. Council, are there any reports, recommendations, or other business of standing select committees of City Council? Do we have one board appointment recommendation? That is a mayor appointment to the Port Authority, and my recommendation is to appoint Mike Estes to the Port Authority. I believe I've submitted his information with you all. Just city council approval for the appointment of Mike Estes to the Port Authority.
I motion that we approve the appointment of Mike Estes to the Port Authority.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Counselor, are there any other appointments you wanted to do tonight?
Yes, we have a council appointment to visit Madison Incorporated, and I would like to recommend Jim Bartlett be our council representative on VMI.
I'll second that motion.
Open for discussion. Comments or questions? Anyone from the audience? Hearing none? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Move to reports of city council, or President Krebs, anything else? Okay, all right. Moving on to report of city officials like Hannah Fagan to give council and the community an update on our website development.
Hopefully we won't have tech issues. Alright, council, so I'm not sure how often you use our website. I know a few of you do because you email me when you have some concerns, which I do appreciate. And if you ever see anything that needs updated on our webpage, I like to hear those things. So one thing that we've been working a lot on is transparency and making sure that the public is aware of all the ongoing projects that we have going on. So we created a projects page, which hopefully our internet doesn't kick out. Let's check. So we created this whole city projects page, which has a list of our economic and redevelopment projects, infrastructure projects, park and recreation projects. It has a 2022 projects map, which needs to be updated to 2023. We update this as we have more projects. Once the project's complete, we'll move it from here, and we're going to create a completed tab. But one of the things that the public can do is they can go and they can click through here. So I'm going to take you to the economic and redevelopment page. It's risky because I'm using a lot of internet in this room, which is very slow, so I apologize. We'll see.
And I missed, was there a projects tab at the top of the homepage?
So, not at the top of the homepage. It's like on the homepage. I can take us back there after this
Yeah,
loads.
you'll
Okay.
go back and go down through the different
Yeah.
tabs and show Carly
Yeah, I
where
can.
he's at. There's
Thank
a
you.
lot of
But
information
I
on
was
the
trying to
page.
follow, but.
How I mostly access things on our website is using the search bar.
Okay,
Because it's a lot easier. You can just type in city projects, or you can type in like Gaines Park and it'll show the Gaines Park project, or you can type in the Crystal Beach and it'll pull that up. But if you want to see city projects, if you use that search bar and type in projects, you'll be able to get to that tab, which is really the simplest way to access anything on our website rather than clicking through tabs. That search bar is really beneficial. Okay, that finally loaded. So on this page, and we also have, so we have economic and redevelopment projects, infrastructure projects, the park and recreation projects. We have project studies and master plans, so if anyone ever wants to go and see those, they can. And then just some information about Madison on the Move, which is our video series that we have that provides the public with updates as well on projects that we have going on. But each of these pages has a summary. So on this, you have the Destination Madison projects, the Franks Drive East intersection improvements, public arts, flight, gateway art projects, Sunrise Crossing development projects. And you can click into these. I'm going to click into the Destination Madison project because Keely, I'm not sure if you all met her, but she's my communication assistant. She did a really excellent job laying out these pages. So I'm going to, again, wait on our internet and jump us over to this Destination Madison projects page so you can see the information that we're providing on projects. And if you don't see a project on there, we're working on it. We have, I forget how many projects we have going on right now. Do you
About
remember?
18.
So 18 projects going on right now. So we're trying to constantly update that. And we are working on this page every single day. So just give our internet a second again. We tested earlier and it was like this, but of course.
It's always the way it works.
Hopefully Nicole's portion won't go as slow. Okay, so it loaded. except for this top portion. There we go. It's a video because the Destination Madison projects really were part of the first portion of Ready that we got. So that's our Ready video that the public can watch. And then you have the US 421 Gateway project. Here you're going to have partners, developers, and contractors, the location, project summary, anticipated project schedule, the estimated cost of the project, and funding sources. You're going to see that with every single project. So as we continue to scroll down, you see that information. You see the project summary. You see the estimated cost. You see where the funding sources are coming, who our partners are, who our developers are. And that's not just with economic development projects. It's with the parks projects, it's with infrastructure projects. Every project you see will have this information. If it's not there yet, we're still working to get it up, so just give us some patience. This is really a new page, and I think it's a great way to communicate this information with the public. And we've highlighted these projects on our social media as well, and highlighted the project page in the past, and we'll continue to do those as we have more projects come along. We have a Habitat for Humanity groundbreaking this Thursday at 4:30, and so we have a project page for that project, and when we posted about that groundbreaking, we made sure to share out that project page link. I'd like to take you through a few more of the projects, but because our internet is slow, I'm not going to, but I encourage you to look at it yourself. And you see Tony's face on here because whoever's the project manager, their face will appear as long as we have their headshot and their contact information, so the public also has that information of who they should be contacting. Carla, I will take us back to the home page. So I do believe we have it up here.
Talk about all the different buttons that are there too.
Yeah, so we have a lot of buttons up here, but this is where you can find government. So mayor's office, clerk's office. Then you have all the departments, and in the departments you'll also have the city projects. So going to Parks and Rec, you'll have a link to the city projects page because there are parks projects ongoing. If you go to economic and redevelopment, you're going to also have the city projects page, that link in that side tab. But Carla, where I showed earlier, so there's the search bar where you can just type in and we'll see if it load. So because you never know. So city projects pops up right there. But you can also scroll down and read about city projects, and then it's click here. And Nicole had a suggestion earlier of turning this into a button so it makes it easier, so we're going to look into see if we can do that on that little landing page. But that brings me into some of the buttons that we've added. I'm going to go over to the street department page because we're making some upgrades there as well. On all departments, we had department head meetings and talked with them. So this will lead in over to Nicole and what she's going to show you all on OpenGov. But we have all things street, so we give some information about what our street department services are. We also want to report an issue. So say there's a pothole, or there's like a manhole cover in the middle of the road, or there's some curbs that need painted, or there's sidewalks that have an issue. They can actually click this report an issue, and it's going to bring us over to OpenGov where they can report that issue in real time. And then it goes to staff, and staff will handle it from there. But I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'll let Nicole handle that. We also have over here, we explained there's a difference between the city and state roads, and did a button to report to INDOT for state roads. So other department pages will have these buttons as well. I'm going to take us over to the home page again. Hopefully it doesn't kick me out. And I'm going to lead us over to Nicole. But does anyone have any questions for me before Nicole takes over about OpenGov? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click this. So we changed these buttons right here on this home page. So you have Stay Connected or Stay Informed, which brings you where to subscribe for our e-newsletter, which we have, I think this last e-newsletter, a 59% open rate, which is actually a really high open rate. And then we changed this report an issue. So if someone has an issue with streets or parks maintenance or sewer and water issue, we're going to add some public safety stuff into there as well. They can click that button and it takes them to that OpenGov landing page. And then permits and applications, this will take them to there. So.
And there was also agendas and minutes.
Yeah, which those have always been there.
All of our different meetings, you'll see the information. And before we get into Nicole's, I mean, a tremendous amount of work has gone into making this website really informative, in addition to the social media presence and the creation and preparation of the e-newsletter and the press releases and the announcements, and then maintaining this page here takes a tremendous amount of work, and Hannah and Keely are doing a great job with that. And then you'll see the tie-in with building and planning here in just a second too. There's a tremendous amount of information, static and non-static, that's flowing through our website now.
All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Nicole.
Thanks, Anna.
While it loads. So one of the things that we've been working on is moving from our former platform iWorks to OpenGov to do all of the city permits through. So we started with the Planning and Preservation and Design Department, since we have about 36 different reports or permit applications that we handle through our department. So we've loaded all of those. We started that project towards the end of last year, and our staff has been using it actively since January, but we're happy to launch it to the public to actually submit online applications. I'm going to try to refresh and see if that helps. So while that loads, so like Hannah said, public can go to permits and applications straight on the home page. We also still accept paper application forms, so we've linked the direct link to those paper application forms for our entire department from that drop down tab. But this is the loading home page for OpenGov. We've broken out all the, we've kind of clumped together the different permits and applications based on who reviews them or what made sense. So you'll see items like the report of issue that Hannah just mentioned for sidewalk issues, graffiti, park-related issues, building and inspections for all of our building permits, reviews. One of the things we can do through this platform that I'm not going to be able to show today, but once users submit their application through the portal and get their building permit, they'll also be able to request inspections and schedule those directly with our building inspector. Of course, you can still call in and schedule them that way. We're definitely not getting rid of any of the current services. And you also see that we have code enforcement, so all the nuisance violations, or if you have an unsafe structure that you want reviewed by the building inspector, there's a application to request those types of inspections as well. Once a citizen creates a username, they'll get this loading page. That's really a concise way to review all the applications. You'll see here I've got several in draft form, but also you can see if one has been completed and submitted. So I just did a test form just to kind of show you a little bit from the user side, as long as the internet works.
While you're waiting for that, Nicole, like I went on and did a nuisance form online last night, and then I got a confirmation through email today that it had been received, submitted, whatever. Will we get a follow-up on that, or we just follow up on our own, like?
Yes, I haven't used it from the public side yet, but I
Okay.
did get, when I did this test, I got notifications each time a task was completed,
Okay.
or if there was something for me to do. So you should be getting those emails. You have to have an account in order to get those.
Yeah, but that was pretty easy to set up. I did
yeah.
that last night.
Try to load it again.
You will get a response about the action.
I assume that requires another password, of course.
Well, I mean, when you sign up, you do put a password in.
We all have so many passwords.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. The goal here was to streamline it, make it informative, assign the problem to somebody for follow-up, track the data on where we're having issues. It's also very comprehensive, so it can be for any concern. We thought this was a much more organized way for the community to report issues. I know in our water and sewer department they open work orders. If you called there and had an issue, you can do that through. You can't open the work order, but you can report the problem for anything. And then if you do have a work order issue, it'll go to the water and sewer department and they'll follow up with you for that.
Yeah, so one of the things on OpenGov, so this is my submitted application. I know it's kind of small on the screen, but there's these 4 checklists. Those are the different steps that are related to this particular permit. So each permit will be different, and you'll be able to see where your application is in the process of review. And we've set up, or tried to set up each application to best lay out what steps staff takes. So like, for example, any of those that go through a board, you'll see an application review by the department, and then you'll see payment, meeting date, that kind of thing, and all the different steps. And usually typically ends with a permit issued. Through this, we have the capability to let applicants print their own documents. We're of course going to print them and mail them anyway, but it's a nice, concise way to look at all the different applications you've submitted and see all the different permits or certificate of occupancies that you've received.
And on behalf of my mom's generation that doesn't do internet, Hannah did mention that you could still come and pick up a form
Yes, absolutely.
with paper. Okay.
Yep,
Just
no, we're
verifying
we're
that
adding,
for the public.
Yep, adding this to our services. We're not getting rid of paper documents. So when a paper applications form is submitted, staff will go ahead and implement it into this. So like Carla, for example, if you want to go in and search for a certain permit, you could do that as a public member. You won't be able to see all the details, but you'll be able to see certain things, including what steps it's on. But we're going to continue with all of our paper copies, mailing them out,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Thank you.
And so you're already using this for building permits and
Yes.
scheduling inspections. How has that gone, and how many active permits, for example, do we have that we're doing?
Yeah,
inspections
so
on?
starting in January, we have about 1,600 records already created in the system. That's a variety of our permits, a couple of the newer ones, the report of issue that we recently added, I think 2 weeks ago. But right now we have 150 active building permits all through the system. Dewey O'Neill and our code enforcement has 162 active nuisance cases. Those are just the ones active. That doesn't include all the ones that they've already closed out. But it's a seamless process. It's really helped our department because we integrate with a lot of other departments. For example, several of our building permit types have to be reviewed by the water and sewer department for connections, and we're able to do our review at the same time as the water office instead of making copies on copies on copies and hope that they get done. We're able to track it a lot easier.
Yeah. Good job on that. Any questions for Nicole? Cool, thank you. Probably we'll go back to the agenda relative to our bills.
Okay, these are bills on second reading. Ordinance number 2023-5, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing a non-reverting fund for ready grants.
This is sponsored by Councilwoman Krebs, and this is the second reading, right? So open for comment.
Yeah, all these are second reading. Ready? Any comments? Public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to.
Does anybody on council want to waive the rules and move that to third reading? It is just opening accounts for the receiving and disbursement of funds for the Hanover Madison Connector Trail, the Indiana Music City Amphitheater, and the Ohio Theater grants.
I would move that we waive the rules and move this to third reading.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Lucy DiTillo,
Yes.
Chatham,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes?
Dan DiTillo,
Yes.
Krebs,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
and Josh.
Yes.
Okay, third reading. And ordinance number 2023-5, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing a non-reverting fund for ready grants.
Krebs,
Are you asking for a vote? Oh, that's right, sorry, I always forget that process. Yes.
Lucidatilla,
Yes.
Chatham,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Dan DiTillo,
Yes.
so ordinance number 2023-5 passes.
Moving on to ordinance number 2023-6, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing the Public Arts Commission non-reverting fund. And comments with
May I have a
respect
sidebar
to
here
that?
for a second?
The second reading, read the whole thing? Okay. I'll read the rest of this ordinance. Whereas the City of Madison will incur certain expenses related to the Public Arts Commission and its promotion of public art, and whereas the City of Madison wishes to establish a fund in order to deposit grant funds and other funds and pay expenses on marketing, grant matches, public art installations, beautification of public areas, travel, and special projects for the promotion and recruitment of public arts. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana as follows. A, an account is established for the purpose of depositing monies from donations, grants, appropriations from city accounts, or from any lawful source for paying the required obligations for the City of Madison Public Arts Commission. B, the account shall be named the Public Arts Commission Non-Reverting Fund, and all funds contained in the account shall be expended only for the exclusive purpose of paying expenses related to marketing, grant matches, public art installations, beautification of public areas, travel, and special projects for the promotion and recruitment of public arts. C, the express and written approval of the Public Arts Commission shall be obtained prior to the expenditure of funds from the account. D, the account shall be non-reverting and exist perpetually unless terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council. E, if the account is terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council, the remaining balance of the terminated account shall revert to the general budget of the Common Council. The foregoing ordinance was passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, at its regular meeting held on the blank day blank 2023, and that had been presented by Mr. Bartlett.
We'll open it up for comment.
So why did we read 2023-6 but not 5?
Because for 13 years, I read only the caption, and the mayor updated me on the procedure for
The question
reading
came
the
up
whole.
today about procedures on reading the ordinance, so we can go back and read the other ordinance into the record if you want to, but I wanted to share with Rob the conversation was happening via email earlier today.
I thought we were
Yeah.
only reading the titles of ordinances now, starting this meeting.
That matter I didn't think had been resolved through the communication today, so I didn't want,
Okay.
I didn't want Rob to be subjected to conversations he wasn't involved in earlier.
And
We can go back and read the other ordinance into the record if you want, but I thought now would be a good time to stop and start the reading of the ordinances.
I just followed my procedure that I'd done back when I was a city attorney previously.
I think it's fine too, but I didn't want there to be any question about it. Any comments or questions on ordinance 2023-6 with regards to establishing the Public Arts Commission non-reverting fund for the receiving and disbursement of monies? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, would council like to make a motion to waive the rules and move this to third reading?
Unless
Why
there's
do
a
we keep
necessity.
moving? Why do we keep moving to the third reading or requesting that? What's the
Unless there's
intent?
an urgency, I think we'd rather let it just go its length.
There's no public comment. It's not a contentious ordinance, and it moves it through and gets it off our agenda.
There's
That's
no
the reason.
time sensitivity though, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, unless we receive, well, money and we do have bills that are starting to accrue, so
Okay.
it would get that off the table. So hearing no motion to move to third reading, we'll move on to the next ordinance.
Ordinance number 2023-7, an amendment to ordinance, an amendment to ordinance 2022-7 of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, the Economic Development Non-Reverting Fund. Whereas the City of Madison will incur certain expenses related to economic development, and whereas the City of Madison wishes to amend the fund to deposit grant funds and other funds and pay expenses on marketing strategies, research, grant matches, travel, and special projects for retention and attraction of business to the community. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana as follows. A, an account is established for the purpose of depositing monies from the Riverfront District license fees, donations, grants, appropriations from city accounts, or from any lawful source for paying the required obligations for the City of Madison economic development. B, the account shall be named the Economic Development Non-Reverting Fund, and all funds contained in the account shall be expended only for the exclusive purpose of paying expenses related to marketing strategies, research, grant matches, travel, and projects associated with retention and attraction of business ventures. C, the account shall be non-reverting and shall exist perpetually unless terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council. D, if the account is terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council, the remaining balance of the terminated account shall revert to the general budget of the Common Council. E, any funds needed for projects, acquisition, administration, or enforcement under this chapter shall be subject to the standard processes and policies that govern the City of Madison's budgeting and expenditures. The foregoing ordinance was passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, at a regular meeting held on the blank day blank 2023, and that was sponsored by Ms. Datillo.
We'll open that up to comment. Comments or questions? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, move it to third reading.
Do you need a motion to do that, or we just do that? Okay. Ordinance number 2023-7, an amendment to ordinance 2022-7 of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, the Economic Development Non-Reverting Fund.
No, we didn't move it to third. Sorry, next meeting. Sorry, Rob.
Oh,
Sorry to confuse you.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Next meeting we'll
I
move
didn't
it.
realize that's what you were asking.
All right.
Okay, that, I believe that wraps up our bills on second reading. Is there anyone here who would like to address the mayor's office and city council for public comments? Now would be a time to come to the podium and, provide your name and address and make your remarks, please.
My name is Annalisa Strickland. I live downtown, 129 Mulberry Street. And I don't want to complain. I want to express gratitude to the police department for responding, because we have had some crazy stuff going on between 2nd and 1st Street on Mulberry. We've had guys intentionally leaving rubber for like 6-8 car lengths, and a week ago one of them at 5:30 in the morning was laying some rubber, and unfortunately he was drunk, and he plowed into my neighbor's car and totaled it into her front door. So we kind of reached the limit of what we could take, because they keep us up all night with this, and the noise in the parking lot, which used to be Ruler, but it's now the party parking lot, and it's where everybody meets and brings cases of beer, and when they leave, there's glass everywhere, cans everywhere, wrappers. I wouldn't advise driving through that parking lot unless you want a flat tire. But this last weekend, I noticed on my security cameras while I was sleeping that Madison PD was making kind of like hourly drive-bys to kind of keep an eye on things, to make sure it wasn't the same crowd getting into trouble, and it made a huge difference. So I want to say thank you. The weeks that we didn't have quite enough patrol, it was way out of hand, and none of us expect an officer to park there all evening. But to be honest, the real reckless stuff doesn't even happen till after midnight, and it doesn't end until 5 in the morning. So it's a significant problem, and I really just wanted to say keep up the good work, because we appreciate the visibility and we appreciate the response to our cries that it couldn't go on the way it was. So I appreciate it.
And Lisa, thank you. You and Mrs. Gaither, who was here at the last council meeting, live at a very busy intersection. There's construction going on. It shifted the pattern. There's more activity in that corridor than ever before.
The Mulberry Corridor.
The Mulberry Corridor. We need to just keep at it with, and the chief is here. Chief and Councilman Sevenall met with Mrs. Gaither after the council meeting last time, and we'll keep working on it.
Well, I'll probably have someone complain, but one thing that's a little disturbing is that all of this increased traffic, we have exponential people running the stops. We made a joke today that it would be easier to sit back and count the people who do stop, because it wears us out counting the ones that don't. And I have video clips from my security cameras of people walking their dogs, and their dog's about 4 feet out in front of them on a leash. The dog goes in the street and a car is running the stop. They see the person standing on the curb and they still run the stop, and people have to yank their dog back to not get hit by a car. Now this is a 4-way stop, but I think the significant problem there is we have no crosswalks. It's a visual aid. When a car comes to a stop, sure, there's a sign there, but they're like, well, I don't see any place to stop, so well, I'll keep going. But if there was a line there, a visible line that says, you know better, you could hit someone here. This part of the road is for a pedestrian, and we don't have that. It's the Wild West down there. It's just black
Mulberry
pavement.
Street is on our paving list for our spring. It's on our paving
Mulberry?
list. So the crosswalks will be addressed.
How soon, do you have any projected date? Just
June, you think? We still have to go through the bidding process.
Can we go out and spray paint some lines on in the meantime? I mean, you're gonna recover anyway, right? No, we're willing to do it, because we just don't, any of us wanna live in a house where there's a dead body outside.
We don't want that either. But there's hundreds of intersections in Madison where, again, people are disregarding the law. We'll do the best that we can to help
And they're repeat offenders.
interdict with it.
Like, one guy does it 5 times a day. And it's just, we can wait till somebody dies, but I don't think it's a really good idea. So, just begging for crosswalks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, miss, you have to come up. I'm sorry, you have to come to the podium, ma'am, if you want to speak.
Mary Lou is my neighbor.
Thank you very much. So that way, we can all get the benefit as well as the recording on the record. And name and address, where you live at?
My name is Mary Gooden, and I live at 114 East First Street. And when he was saying they were gonna do something in June on First Street, now are they gonna make it even where, because where I live at on my side is a slump down and everything, because other sides of the street is straight, but mine goes down like a,
It's a paving project, so it'd be a milling and paving and painting of the crosswalks.
because.
It's not are we, I mean, we may be doing gutters in that area too, I'm not sure. Where?
Well, this
Yeah.
is, you would have, how do you pronounce that?
Culvert?
Huh?
Culvert.
Culvert? Yeah, because my side, in front of her house to the alley right there is that it just slumps down. And see, in the winter, when it snows or anything, you have to make sure you don't go down, because you won't be able to get out from the gutter and everything. And that's what I was thinking of, is because it slumps down. It's not flat, like on the other side of the street, it's not flat, it's flat.
Ms. Goodin, you might be describing a different issue. I might ask maybe Councilman Tevenall could meet with you afterwards and we could understand what your concern is better.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we'll work with you when we come to the road paving project. We'll make sure that we look at your concern and see if it's something we can correct when we do the curb and gutter work. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, there's also a lot of slope to that
There
part of
is,
Mulberry Street.
and
I
that
just-
happens.
Well, it's just
Don't
on
know.
that one
Yeah.
end, just from like,
Right.
it's called Wharf Street, right there in front of my house, all the way to the end of Annalicia's.
I mean, this is her house over here, and this is mine, and this drop is about,
Yeah, so we can
Yeah.
we can correct that quite a bit with the curb and gutter, when we do the curb and gutter.
and
Oh,
people
okay.
back into my driveway to go to the clearinghouse, and they've mashed both ends of the culvert, so no water will go through there.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll work with you when we
okay,
do the road
I mean,
project.
sure, that's fine, I was just wondering, because that'd be a lot easier.
Right.
When we
Thank
get down
you.
a lot of snow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodin.
Hi, my name is Lisa Ferguson. I live at 718 East 2nd Street. I've been over speaking with them for several times since they talked about it at City Council a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure many of you are aware, but there are actually signs made by the wonderful Madison Street Department that say things that are closed from this hour to this hour. Because we're music people, we're always out chasing music, either walking or on the golf cart. It's quite dangerous, that neighborhood that they're talking about, specifically over at Ruler in that parking lot. We still call that, I know y'all call that Ruler, so I do now. And it's full of cars. I know a large part of that is because of the parking lots being done on Mulberry. I also know that there's, like Annalise said, it's party central every weekend. Last weekend, they had grills, beer bottles, they had a keg that they bought, and I was like, and Charlie goes, "Can't take a picture of that." I'm like, okay, but it's a party parking lot. It's not a parking lot that a lot of residents are using. There's a lot of tags that are in that car that are not Madison, Indiana license plates. So my thought was, let's get the Ruler open and then it'll be their problem. Let's get a grocery store there ideally, and they can have better lighting, marked parking, and maintain their own parking lot. But until that happens, I'm thinking, can't we do things like say, you can't park here from midnight till 6 a.m. because it's not people who are working downtown that are using it as a parking lot. You can drive down there and figure out it's clearly not those people. And we lived in a town where you could get a parking permit that was free from the city that gave you permission to use that parking lot. So, you know, if we're a ways away from that staying a city parking lot, can it be used like a park where they say there's no parking from this time to this time? We have that down by the bridge. There's a sign down there that tells you what time you can and cannot park. So I'm like, maybe that could be a temporary fix to a problem of all these party kids that are coming from Kentucky and parking there and grilling and screaming all night long, because our group of people goes to Thomas Family Winery often, and we no longer will park in that parking lot because most of them are single women. So we walk to Main Street and walk each other back and forth because it's better lighted. We can get through that alley that's lighted there to get up to Main. So it's not just their concern, it's a concern of everybody else who lives here, and that parking lot is not being used for the purposes that it should be used for. So maybe signage would help the police department to engage those people more and say, you can't just stay here all night long and have grills and kegs and party, because that's what they've been doing. And that's not from just the neighborhoods. I mean, I've been talking to them, but I've seen it for myself. I've talked to Steve and Elizabeth about it because, you know, that's not what they want outside of their business either when they close down at 10 o'clock at night. So,
Don't we have a loitering ordinance? I remember being in high school and on the hilltop parking lots that was enforced to the high school kids. It would be the same thing down here.
Yeah, there should not be that type of conduct in that parking lot. I mean, it's a parking lot, it's to park vehicles, it's not to party. So I appreciate you guys bringing it. Chief Wallace and I and Councilman Tevenall will get together and we'll step up the patrols there. Because the issue isn't the parking of the cars, it's the behavior of the people who are parking the cars.
It's the driving after they've
So,
been drinking
yeah,
before.
it's that, it's the behavior. So we'll address that. Thank you for bringing that again.
You're afraid to even sit outside because you don't know what's going to go along. You don't know what's gonna happen.
My car was totaled in front of my house by somebody that left the Central, just like this car was totaled last week. You know, how much a loss is okay?
Thank you. Chief and I and Councilman Tevenall will work on a solution for that. Yep. Anybody else here would like to make a public comment?
I just have a question. No complaints, no anything, just, how do I know from my address what district I'm in? I'm new the last couple of years to downtown. I'm at
There's-
1212 West Second.
You could, call the voter registration office is one. You could check your voter record. You can go on the City of Madison GIS
Okay.
and, type in your address, and then there's a layer there that'll show you what district you're in.
You should be, if I recall correctly, the third ward on that end of town.
Yeah,
And if you
third
go to indianavoters.com, it'll pull up your voter registration and give you your precinct information as well.
Well, I have a couple of things just to mention, and that is, I want to thank the chief also for the announcement on the upcoming traffic enforcement and relative to speeding in our school zones. So there will be stepped up traffic enforcement for the week of April 17th to April 30th. This is a problem all across the city, and I do want to mention that, you know, with our traffic safety elements of MPD, you know, we wrote over 4,500 citations last year. It's a tremendous problem all across the city, in school zones and in, you know, downtown, on the hilltop, everywhere. It's an area we've been placing a lot of focus on, and it's one that it sounds like we need to do even more on, particularly in certain elements, certain areas of town after late hours. Also want to also mention that today is National Line Worker Appreciation Day. So I know that every time we have a severe weather event and the energy goes out, they're always deploying line workers in order to get our energy restored. Duke does a really good job on that. And I'll leave it there. It's been a good meeting and happy to see our 3 new police officers. I'll open the floor up to council if they have anything they'd like to add. Our next meeting is still to be determined because Election Day is May the 2nd, which is a normal council meeting, so we're working on the scheduling for the next council meeting.
I have a question regarding the cancellation of the youth sports. Was there any discussion to work with Hanover to maybe offer facility and partner, since they've had a significant increase in participation, to utilize the complex for them?
I'm not aware that Hanover's reached out to us, but you could follow up with.
Has the city reached out to them? Has nobody from the city of Madison reached out?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Scott, or Scott Klein, or Scott is our Parks Director.
Okay.
Feel free to do that. Thank you.
I didn't know with Carla being a part of the park board if there was any effort to try to
No, we
do
have,
something for the youth kids this summer.
well, there's things to do for the youth kids, yes, but did you want me to answer the baseball question? Because I don't, yeah, okay, so I don't think so. We have 7 T-ball teams that'll be up there at least twice a week. And we have 2 men's softball leagues that are there 4 nights a week. So I don't think that that would be an option. And then as far as youth sports, we have golf lessons, pickleball lessons, the T-ball, swim lessons. We have quite a few things offered besides
You're
baseball.
right, there's a lot of activities still happening. It's unfortunate that we didn't get the enrollment numbers for some of the baseball teams, but there's certainly a lot of youth activity and adult activity happening this summer, and we're going to work with our new leadership in the Parks Department, work very hard to make sure that summer sports are successful, but also that we're ahead of enrollment on the fall leagues that we're offering too.
So are the men's league that are being played up there the ones that were formerly at John Paul, or is that an expansion? So
We've
they're
moved
just-
them, yes, from John Paul to the complex.
Are there any plans to use John Paul for anything now they've been moved up there?
Not immediately because there are some repairs that need to be done.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
A second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I'll take all this stuff and give it to Joe.